And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson and just some recent comments he made about, feeling rejuvenated with the Steelers. And I'll give you my thoughts on what he had to say and, what kind of season that I think, he's going to have, which I've kind of talked about already, but we'll get into it again. So this is what Russell Wilson had to say. He said, "Man, I feel the fountain of youth. I feel revived in every way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I feel confident. I think at some point you have to know who you are as a player, as a man, as a competitor, as somebody who's been fortunate to be able to play this game. I don't doubt it. I trust it. I felt really good last year playing. I felt really confident in the midst of everything. And so I think right now I have all that confidence times 10. And then Arthur Smith had some comments, I guess, on the QB competition between him and Justin Fields. He said Russ is in the pole position. He also said it's a competition. Obviously, we get to training camp. I'm sure things will heat up, but both those guys knew that however they were required, and they got here, and I think it's been pretty transparent. It's still early in the process. But reports out of Pittsburgh suggest, this is from the article on NFL.com, Russ looks more like his Seattle self than the one we saw in Denver the past 2 years. But we'll see how true that is. And I just realized my camera decided to turn off on me. Look at that. I don't even know what happened. I guess I knocked into the wire. But yeah, so that's interesting stuff. But I know some people did talk about how, Russ was confident going into Denver, and look at how that ended. So I guess, people are kind of expecting more of the same. See, I am still kind of expecting more of the same when it comes to Russ in Pittsburgh. I think we're going to get the Russ from Denver. Now, last year he was decent. However you want to look at it, I know you could say, well, there was a lot of checkdowns, and, it's just he couldn't really see the middle of the field. But I thought Russ played okay. His numbers were decent. He definitely was better under Sean Payton. I think he is in a better situation with Pittsburgh, and I think he'll play okay. But I don't know. For me, I'm not really that high on Russ, going out there and, reliving the glory days like he did in Seattle and, playing up to that level. Now, if he does, well, that's a different conversation, because then it's like, okay, well, if you're getting the Russell Wilson from Seattle, this is going to be a dangerous team. And I think this still can be a dangerous team specifically because of their defense. Because when we think of the Steelers, lately we've kind of been thinking about their defense. Well, I'm just saying recently, because their offense just has been, we want to see more out of the offense. The days of the killer bees are behind us. That's the last time the Steelers won a playoff game. And I think Russell Wilson can win a playoff game for the Steelers. I think he can. But I'm not really that confident in that happening. And you also got Justin Fields, and maybe we'll see Justin Fields this year. Right now, Russ has a stronghold on the starting job, but I think at the same time, he does have a very short leash. If he struggles, if the Steelers are, reeling a little bit, they're going to make the change and they're going to put in Fields. So I think Russell Wilson's got to realize that. And the other thing, too, is, this could be his last shot to prove that he could still be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Otherwise, you might be, a backup. So, and I think either way, I think Russ could still win games, but I don't know if he's going to be winning big games, like playoff games. But we'll see. And, the Steelers, it was interesting how they kind of just, the whole quarterback situation, like it's changed because the quarterback room, because last year you had, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. None of those guys are there. You got a whole new quarterback room. Because I honestly thought after last year, I thought it was going to be Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, run it back, battle it out for the starting job. Because you had teammates coming out and talking about Mason Rudolph and, advocating for him. But, yeah, no, that's not the case. Mason Rudolph's now with the Titans, Trubisky's with the Bills, and Kenny Pickett got traded to the Eagles. And he's probably going to be a backup for the rest of his career. I don't know if he's going to get another shot. But, yeah, now you got Russ and you got Justin Fields. So, it's going to be interesting. That first game of the year for the Steelers, it's going to be them against the Falcons. You got Kirk Cousins making his first start as the new Falcons quarterback, and you got Russell Wilson making his first start as the new Steelers quarterback. And then on top of that, you have Arthur Smith, who used to be the head coach of the Falcons. He's going to be with the Steelers as the offensive coordinator. And I think as the offensive coordinator, I think he'll be better in that role, but we'll see. I mean, the Steelers, too, they put an emphasis on the offensive line, and because that's been kind of a problem in recent years, towards the end of Big Ben's career, because he had guys retiring and leaving in free agency, and now they're trying to, better that, because that helps, of course, the quarterback. But you also have the running game, too, because the Steelers' running game, if the offensive line is better, the running game's going to really benefit from that, because the running game was good down the stretch, too, with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers are going to be decent. I know... Listen, in our production meeting, the Steelers were a topic of conversation. And do have a couple of Steelers fans on the network here. And, look, my dad is a Steelers fan. And for him, I want to see the Steelers do well. But we did have one of them say in the production meeting that they think the Steelers could finish in second place. Now, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, because I think with the healthy Joe Burrow back in the fold, I don't think the Steelers are finishing in second place. It's going to be between the Bengals and the Ravens for the division, if Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are healthy. Can I see the Steelers finishing ahead of the Browns? Yes, but I'm not going to pick that. Right now I have the Steelers ranked 4th. However, this is the toughest division in football. The Steelers the Steelers split with the Browns last year. They won the first game in Pittsburgh, but then they lost in Cleveland. Yeah, I could see the Steelers finishing in 3rd, but I'm not going to go 2nd. But I also don't agree with, the Steelers are bad. Because, look, you got Mike Tomlin, you got this defense. This team is going to be competitive. Now, the AFC North has... they all have tough schedules, but I think the Steelers, they'll find a way, to win 9 games, and maybe they find themselves in the playoffs again. But they are going to need some help, unless we see Russell Wilson turn back the clock. So, but he's got confidence. I hope my dog doesn't start barking, because she was laying outside my door. Now she just got up. Yep, there it is, right there. I said it. Did I not say it? Yeah, I mean, look, Russ. Let's see, what he can do. We'll see what kind of motivation. He says he feels like he's 35. Feels like he's 25. But yeah, I mean, if we see the Russ from Seattle, that, like I said, we're gonna have a whole new conversation. Because, the Russ from Seattle, he was, top 10 quarterback. Right now he's, outside the top 10, might be, top 15, maybe. I don't even know. I mean, I have to do my own ranking, but yeah, I mean, he's not a top 10 quarterback anymore. But let's see how he plays this year. The Steelers got decent weapons. Let's see how George Pickens is with, consistent quarterback play, and you got Pat Freiermuth, and we'll see what they get from some of their other younger receivers. Roman Wilson they drafted, Calvin Austin, another young receiver they have. It's going to be an interesting year for the Steelers. So let's see what ends up happening. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting more of the Russ from Denver, but maybe he proves us wrong. And I know there's people out there that are hoping that Russ kind of proves the doubters wrong, because I mean, a lot of people just bashed him in Denver, just like the goofy stuff with the Broncos country and all that, the Mr. Unlimited stuff. Yeah, I see. The thing is, I never really thought about how I never really realized how like at times Russell Wilson was really cringy, if you want to say, because yeah. I mean, the Mr. Unlimited video is I mean, it's funny, but it's a little cringe, as the kids will say. But yeah, I mean, listen, if it went well, that Broncos country let's ride stuff, I mean, that would not have been made into a meme. But because it just went so badly, yeah, that's why it ended up happening. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, though. Is Russ going to turn back the clock? Are we going to see the Russ from Seattle, or are we going to see the Russ from Denver? Who knows? Or maybe we're going to see something in between that. I will say, though, maybe it's because doing franchises in Madden for many years, and if I was the Steelers, I would draft Russell Wilson. He does. The Steelers uniform does suit him. He does look good in the black and gold. But it's not a fashion it's not a fashion contest. You got to go out there and win football games. So yeah, he might look good in the uniform, but if he doesn't play well in the uniform, well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about Russ. What kind of season you think he's going to have? So we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk about Derrick Henry. Ravens, some comments on Derrick Henry, what kind of season he can have with the Ravens. So that's what we'll do when we come back from our final break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.